Hi, I'm Jen from Tea Leaves and Tweed, and welcome to another sunrise tea session. This morning I'm sharing a brand new cake that I just got this week from Mountain Stream Teas. This is their Taiwanese aged white tea cake that I first found out about when I found out they were having a contest to design the wrapper, which I did enter and I did not win, but the tea sounded so interesting that I had to buy myself a cake, and I was really pleased to see that they were offering 100-gram cakes because I have so much tea that I can't buy a 200 or 357-gram cake of everything that I find interesting, but a little 100-gram cake is just perfect. So my tea finally arrived from Taiwan this week, and it took a little bit of doing to get it from the post office because they didn't bring it to the door, they just left a slip, and I tend to be at work when the post office is open. So I finally got my tea, and I'm going to break into it right now and give you a little first impressions and a tasting. So let's brew. So here I have my brewing setup, and here is my little cake. So the wrapper looks like a floral design because this is supposed to be a very floral tea. And I've actually pre-warmed all of my teaware because it's a little chilly out here. It's supposed to snow later. So I'll have to remember to pour that water out first. But first we need to actually break a piece off this cake. So let's unwrap it. Oh, look at this. The little hole is slightly off center. You can tell that this has been kind of hand done, and it's a really neat color variation. You can see all that different variation in the leaves. Some of it is quite dark. There's a little tag in there. So I've got my little tea cake knife, and we're going to break into this. So I'm going to work very carefully. Here. Let's fold this wrapper down. So I'll try and find a better video that actually shows how to break into a tea cake to link below, but I just like to come in from the side and just wiggle the knife. You really shouldn't need to use much force. And just kind of get it loosened. Find those little gaps between the pressed leaves. And you don't want to press in too much because you'll slip and stab yourself in the hand. Like that. I didn't stab myself in the hand, but you can see the knife kind of slipped through. It found a weak spot. And the goal is to try to prise off as many of these beautiful whole leaves as you can. So I'm doing this. Oh wow, I want this leaf. It's kind of like untangling necklaces. It is similarly satisfying when you get a nice big intact piece. Yes. Oh, I'm excited. So, let's see what we've got. Really good tea is kind of an exercise in patience. So, probably not super interesting to watch. And you'll notice I haven't brought a scale out with me. I'm going to do this very casually. I haven't brought a scale, I haven't brought a timer. I really just want to get a sense of kind of the personality of this tea without trying to make it do anything specific other than just be tea. So I want to get a nice chunk of tea to put in my gawan. I think this is a 120 milliliter porcelain gawan. I will likely eventually try this in my silver teapot. So we've got a nice little pile of tea. I'm gonna get, there's some in the hole. Yeah, that's a nice little pile of tea. So let's pour our warming water out and get this into the gawan to warm up. I'm excited by some of those giant leaves that I saw. We don't really need all the dust, so we'll get that warming up. Put our knife away. I think the thing I like about this knife is that the lid screws on, so I don't have to worry about if I accidentally leave it out, the baby or the cat grabbing it and being able to just pull the lid off and get the sharp thing inside. So now it's mostly wrapped back up. Almost like new, not quite. So now I think the first thing I want to do is smell this dry leaf before I start steeping it. So we've got our leaf. It's kind of warmed up a bit in here. Ooh, it smells like apricots and peaches, mostly apricots. It smells like really fresh, juicy, almost like apricot nectar, like apricot juice. That's really fun. Wow, I'm excited for this. So let's pour our warming water out. This was boiling water. Obviously it's sat in the thermos, so it may have cooled off by a few degrees. And I am going to give this a rinse, because I like to rinse compressed teas. Although that is already a really beautiful color. But it's pretty light. So now, let's give this a steep. Probably doesn't need long. I'll give it a little bit longer than the rinse. You can see the leaves starting to kind of hydrate and open up. There's some really big leaves in here. Let's see what we got. Remember to dump out your warming water before you put the tea in. So I like to look at teas both in clear glass and in white teaware when I'm looking at the color of the liquor, and this is kind of a really nice gold color. I'm getting florals coming through with that fruit. Maybe a little citrus. That's yummy. Okay, let's give it a taste. That has kind of a lightly creamy mouthfeel. Our morning train coming through. It's got these delicate floral flavors. And I do do get a bit of fruitiness or citrus. So when the owner of Mountain Stream Teas was describing this tea, he said that he got some Earl Grey character from it, and I definitely get that. It doesn't taste like it's a scented tea. But it's very fragrant. Oh, that's really nice. Yeah, no, if you like Earl Grey tea, you might really like this one. And I think my mother is probably going to watch this video and say, why didn't you share this tea with me last week when we had white tea? And it's because I hadn't gotten it yet. So she'll probably be over soon to try some of this. Oh, that is, yeah, the aftertaste is so fragrant. I'm gonna do another steeping of this. We still have our very long train passing. I thought I would zoom in to give a look at these leaves. So here's the leaf. Kind of mostly just looks wet right now. It smells really good. It smells more like a white peony than a Chaumet, but it's got that really delicate floral quality that I sometimes think of as silver needle, even though this is really obviously not buds. And that was so flavorful with such a very short steeping time. I don't know, do I want to give this a little longer, or do I want to just do another short one? Just gonna poke it. And the color looks nice already, so I'm gonna strain this. Definitely a slightly darker color, a very kind of light ambery gold color. So, smell our leaves. It's interesting, I get more off the actual leaf than the lid for this one. Not sure how I feel about that because I'm such a dedicated lid sniffer. There's a little bit of bitterness coming through. And somehow that makes it taste more like Earl Grey, because it kind of almost tastes like a really nice black tea. But it has that fruity, floral quality. This is so good. Now I'm curious what would happen if I steeped it longer, if it would get unpleasantly bitter, or if this is where that bitterness goes. I definitely think of white tea as kind of a spring tea, but this is very nice and warming on a cold winter morning. Definitely smells like it's gonna snow. It looks like it's gonna snow. It feels like it's gonna snow. It's very cold outside. I know that my Canadian friends would think I was absolutely a wuss because it's only just below 0, but Celsius. There's still some birds out. I guess no one's up, so no one's lit a fire yet. I don't smell fireplaces in the neighborhood yet, but I bet this evening we will. Okay, I'm gonna smell the cup aroma. There's a like an almost sharp scent that I can't quite put my finger on. I think it's a flower of some sort, or maybe an herb. It could be something like a lemon balm or a lemon thyme. Something kind of aromatic and slightly citrusy. So I'm gonna do this for a third steeping and see what happens if I steep it a little longer. So this morning I knew I needed to do an actual sunrise tea session. Sometimes lately I've been getting out quite a bit after sunrise, just because it's difficult when you have a 1-year-old and a job, and I guess I value my sleep a little bit more, and I also value my early morning time. Plus, it's been cold, sometimes the weather is bad, and I can't drink tea outside, and I can't film in my tea room in the early morning because the tea room is right next to the bedroom and I would wake people up. But it's nice to be out for kind of a real sunrise tea session, although the sun's not out. You can't really tell that it's sunrise. It took a little time for it to actually brighten up out here, but I do love this sky. It's kind of gray, I call it snow sky. It's just this very soft gray color, very even cloud cover. It makes it feel quieter. Haven't seen anybody out walking their dog or going for a run yet. I guess it was supposed to already be snowing. And I was trying to get out, kind of balancing the sun being up, so I had enough light to film, with the snow not being too severe. And then eventually it's going to warm up enough that the snow will turn to sleet and rain. And filming outside in sleet and rain would not be pleasant. Snow might be okay. Okay, this has been steeping for a little while. Again, I don't have a clock on me, so maybe in the comments you'll tell me how long it was steeping, or I'll see it when I edit. Yeah, the color is much darker. I get more off the lid. I get that bergamot-y Earl Grey scent. The wet leaf just looks so unassuming. It almost looks like a raw pu'er, honestly, more than a white tea. I guess white tea and raw pu'er have a bit of a blurry boundary sometimes. I'm gonna get so much flack for saying that. So we've got our liquor. It's a beautiful orange color. It's got a bit of that kind of almost tannic black tea scent to it. It's so cold out here, my nose is running. The bitterness definitely comes through more, and it is almost starting to taste like a black tea. I need to go back and look at the information for this tea. I didn't actually look at anything about this tea since it's come. I kind of wanted to go into this almost completely blind, but I really want to look at what cultivar this is. Because I think Mountain Stream is the one that does what they call a red peony tea, which is where they take the Ruby 18 Taiwanese cultivar that's usually used for black tea, or red tea, as it's called in China, and they process it like a white tea. So I was already saying that this looked and smelled like a white peony. That is a really interesting tea. That is definitely a white tea for people who prefer black tea. Do I have any water left? Let's do another steeping. I know I usually just do 3 steepings out here, and it's cold, but I want to drink more of this tea, and I have water. So I'm going to keep going. There's a squirrel kind of frolicking about on the fence line between my yard and my neighbor's yard. Our neighbor puts out seed for the birds and the animals, so he has a nice little population of wildlife outside his house, which also gets into our yard. We'll find peanut shells and corn kernels in our yard, and it's a little confusing to people who come and visit who don't understand why we have corn kernels and peanut shells in our yard, but it's because the neighbor puts out food for the birds and animals. See one of those great big beautiful green leaves that I prized out of the cake. Oh, more tea. This is definitely a very drinkable tea. And I know that that's one of those words that sounds so weird when I know wine people use it too. Drinkable wine. Of course it's drinkable. If it's not drinkable, it's kind of the bare minimum of something that you're supposed to drink is that it's drinkable. But to me, what that really means is that it's not super challenging. Like, you don't have to really think about it to decide if you like it. Like, I like this tea. I can tell you right now, I like this tea. Like, it's got that bitterness, but it's not too bitter. It's not, I'm not sitting there evaluating the nature of the bitterness. Right now, this steeping is a little less bitter actually. But I could tell you it's probably kind of a citrus peel bitterness. I've recently started thinking more about tasting notes and different types of overarching flavors. Like, there's different types of sweet, there's fruity sweet, there's sugar sweet, there's caramel sweet. There's even some like vegetables that are sweet. That's a different flavor than like a fruity sweetness or a sugar sweetness or honey. Honey sweetness is a very, very specific sweetness. Excuse me. I guess I might be getting some cha-chi off of this. I don't have that kind of warm, sweaty feeling that I get from pu'ers sometimes, but it is also really cold out here. I can still tell that I'm cold. I don't really care as much. But yeah, so drinkable tea is one that you can kind of just steep and drink and enjoy, and you don't have to overthink it, and you don't have to hunt for the notes to really enjoy it. But it also, like, it is the kind of tea that I could see steeping up, maybe not a big pot of, because I only got a 100-gram cake. Maybe I should have gotten a bigger one. But I could see myself steeping up a pot of it and sharing it with some friends and having some conversation. Or I love to steep a nice drinkable tea that's like better than my standard breakfast tea that I would drink with milk. Like, I do want to still have an oolong or a white tea or a really nice tea, but I want to drink it while I'm working. Particularly on days when I work from home, where I can actually do a little bit more of the fuss, but I still need to be working. So this would be a great work from home tea. Not as great of an office tea unless I broke down an entire cake and put it in a jar, just because I do feel a little weird sometimes stabbing my tea cakes in my office. I get some strange looks from my coworkers sometimes. I do have a pu'er knife that I got from White to Tea. And I have done cake teas at work, but maybe I'm gonna keep this one at home. That is a really lovely tea. I don't know. I don't think I have enough water to keep steeping it outside, so I would have to go back inside. I am definitely going to keep steeping this tea. This was the first 4 steepings of the white tea, the new release white tea from Mountain Stream Teas. I'll put the full information below. It's a Taiwanese white tea. Absolutely delicious. If you like Earl Grey, you definitely should try this tea. They're not paying me to say that. I paid for this myself, but I just really enjoyed this tea. This is my first impressions and tasting, and I hope you enjoyed this sunrise tea session, and I hope I will see you again here sometime. Thanks for joining me. Bye.